Are you a morning person? Full of energy, bouncing out of bed at 5 a.m. to seize your day? If so, you're one of the 40% or so of the adult population that jumpstart their day. On today's episode, we'll look at the benefits of being an early bird and whether you should try to become one if you're not already. I'm Jay, and this is Somnilopod. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. I am so glad that you decided to join me today. We're talking about a topic that is near and dear to my heart. I worked nights for a very long time, of course, in sleep medicine. That comes with the territory. But I began to, once I switched from nights to days, my mornings became a lot more important to me. I was never really one of those morning people that I talked about in the intro, but as I've gotten older, things have shifted a little bit. So that saying, "the early bird gets the worm," it's the kind of phrase that makes me roll my eyes, honestly, especially after one of those long nights, a restless night, or even a night of insomnia. Morning people, I thought, had rigged the game in their favor. But the older I get, and the more I studied biology and the psychology of sleep, the more I've come to understand that there's something quietly transformative about the early hours of the day. Something deeper than just getting a head start. Waking up early doesn't have to mean joining the 5 a.m. club or forcing yourself into a harsh routine. It's really about aligning with the rhythm that your body was designed to follow. A rhythm written in our DNA long before alarm clocks and electric lights or streaming platforms kept us up half the night. Every cell in your body keeps time. Inside your brain, just above the optic nerves, sits a little cluster of neurons called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, often described as the conductor of your internal orchestra. At dawn, the first light of morning travels through your eyes and signals that conductor to raise the baton. Music begins, cortisol rises naturally to wake you, blood pressure increases slightly to prepare for movement, and body temperature begins to slowly climb toward daytime levels. The process doesn't just wake you up, it sets your circadian rhythm. That's the 24-hour cycle that regulates nearly every biological process. When you rise with the sun, you strengthen that rhythm. You're helping your body synchronize hormone release, digestion, energy cycles, and even immune function. Morning light, especially within the first hour or two of waking, helps suppress melatonin production and triggers serotonin release. And that's a neurotransmitter that stabilizes mood and contributes to a feeling of calm focus. People who regularly see morning light tend to fall asleep more easily at night, feel more alert during the day, and report fewer symptoms of depression or anxiety. And it's not magic, it's maintenance. The sun is a kind of natural reset button for the brain. And beyond biology, there's something almost sacred about the hours before the world wakes up. The noise of daily life, the messages, the traffic, the mental clutter, hasn't yet gathered momentum. In that stillness, thought feels different. Ideas drift in without effort, and reflection feels easier somehow. Writers and thinkers throughout history have sworn by these hours. Maya Angelou did her best work before dawn, and Ernest Hemingway called early morning the best time to write. It's not just nostalgia or superstition, there's a cognitive explanation too. Early in the day, your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for planning and decision making, it's refreshed from rest. With fewer distractions, lower cortisol levels than the rest of the day, creativity and focus can come naturally. For people who struggle with anxiety or racing thoughts, the quiet of morning can be profoundly healing. There's a grounding that happens when you step outside into cool air or when you hear the soft hum of the world that's still stretching awake. It can feel like you're ahead of the noise, in control, present, and breathing with the rhythm of the day instead of against it. The biggest benefit of waking early may not be physical or even cognitive. It's psychological. When you rise before obligations begin, you take back ownership of your time in a way. The day becomes yours to shape instead of something you have to chase. You're not rushing, reacting, or catching up. You're actually leading into the day. That small act of being awake before the world expects you to be can change your internal dialogue. It builds a sense of discipline and self-trust. You start to believe not because a motivational speaker or a podcaster told you that you can guide your own rhythm. That sense of agency ripples through the rest of the day, influencing how you handle stress, decisions, and even your mood. Studies have shown that early risers often report higher levels of optimism and satisfaction with life. It's not that morning people are inherently better. It's that the structure of their day aligns more naturally with how human physiology evolved. Our ancestors rose with light and rested when it faded. That rhythm is still encoded in us. When we fight it, staying up under blue lit screens until midnight, we create a subtle disconnect between our biology and our behavior. And over time, that disconnect can leave us groggy and irritable and even chronically fatigued. Here's the surprising thing. Many people assume early risers must be surviving on less sleep, that they just naturally don't need as much sleep as the rest of us. But the real secret is in that consistency. The human body thrives on predictability. When you go to bed and wake up at roughly the same times every day, your brain learns the pattern. It starts releasing melatonin on schedule, your body temperature cycles smoothly, and you begin to wake naturally, often before the alarm sounds. When that rhythm stabilizes, something almost magical happens. Mornings no longer feel like punishment. You don't drag yourself from bed, you rise. That shift from forcing wakefulness to allowing it can be transformative for a lot of people. And once you've experienced a truly peaceful morning, it's hard to go back. You start craving that quiet cup of coffee before sunrise, that slow beginning where you can think, you can move, and you can breathe. Even simple routines like journaling or stretching or walking the dog take on a kind of ritualistic calm. They become grounding points in a world that's often anything but. If you've ever stepped outside at dawn, you know that the air feels different, softer, kind of charged in a subtle way. There's a liminal quality in those early moments, as if the world hasn't quite decided to wake up yet. And many traditions, from monastic prayer to meditation practices, have recognized this time as somewhat sacred. It's when the mind is most receptive, least distracted, and the closest to something like stillness. And you don't have to be a religious person to feel it. That silence carries a psychological weight. It gives your day a center. And whether you use that time for reflection, gratitude, or simply just sitting in quiet, it creates a pause before the rush. In sleep science, we often talk about sleep hygiene, those habits that you do before you go to bed to support good rest. But maybe wake hygiene deserves just as much attention. How we greet the day, how we orient our senses, and how we tune our minds to calm instead of chaos. And if you're not a morning person, none of this means you have to force yourself into misery. Start gently. Move your wake time earlier by 15 minutes every few days. Get a dose of sunlight first thing. Step outside, even briefly. Avoid screens for the first 20 minutes or so if you can. Notice how your energy shifts, how your mood feels, and let your body guide you. Because in the end, waking up early isn't about squeezing more hours into your schedule. It's about expanding the quality of the hours you already have. It's about greeting your day rather than chasing it. Maybe the early bird doesn't just get the worm, maybe it gets the calm, the clarity, the chance to see the sunrise and remember just for a moment that life doesn't have to feel like catching up. It can start quietly, it can start with intention, and sometimes that's all it takes to change the whole day ahead. I hope this has been informative for you. If you have any questions or comments or suggestions for future episodes, please feel free to touch base with me. You can reach me at j@somnillapod.com, or you can also touch base with me on Facebook or Instagram. And until we talk next time, please remember to make sleep a priority. Thanks so much.